A, B, C. A always B, B, C closing. Always be closing.
What's up, y'all? We here another episode. Scare money, don't make money. We got a cool dude, Ben Nader. Is that right? That's how you say it, Nader?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
Ralph.
like Ralph. Like Ralph.
Ralph.
Yep, there you go. Nader, like Mater. Was it like in cars?
Yeah.
Mater,
Oh,
like
Mater.
Tub Mater. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your boy Roy, of course.
We're parents, you can tell. Of course, yeah. And your boy Roy with his Chick-fil-A, his famous Chick-fil-A that he loves so much.
Yummy.
But is it Chick-fil-A in here?
So, probably not. But anyways, so our boy Ben, he runs the Six Figure Recruiter website, Facebook page, mentorship program, all that. So I'm gonna let him kind of talk about himself, get acquainted with y'all, so you know exactly who he is, because he's gonna give us some really good information today. So Ben, by all means, the floor is yours, man.
Cool, man. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. So basically, yeah, like you said, I'm Ben Nader. So I run Six Figure Recruiter, which is basically a company that I started, which is essentially a program, an 8-week program where I teach entrepreneurs, recruiters, budding recruiters, or senior recruiters, or people leaving, corporate or agency life to kind of go solo, go out on their own, and some people that are even in agencies that want, training. Like I do some consulting stuff as well. So, that's kind of my deal. I have a YouTube channel. I preach and teach a lot on there. And I got a Facebook group as well, which is Six Figure Recruiters. So, yeah.
I'm stealing that. Preach and teach.
Preach and teach. Preach and say it all the time. I don't know why. Yeah.
So how did you even get started with this? Where are you from?
Yeah.
Did you do college first and then what happened?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Ohio.
Hey.
Yeah.
Spent some time over there.
Okay. Yeah. So originally from Ohio, moved to Seattle when I was about 17.
Okay.
And basically been here ever since. So I went to school out here. Did my last year of high school out here. Went to the University of Washington, and then kind of started to work for a couple of tech companies in sales. Was doing sales, account management for a couple software companies, digital marketing, advertising companies, and then I ended up at Microsoft, working for the Bing team.
Oh, Bing.
Yeah, Bing. Yeah, remember Bing, right?
Oh,
yeah, right.
Oh, we still have it on our government computers. I don't use the shit, but it's
right. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's just like when you want to search for something and you're like, yeah.
So, Bing it. Just Bing it.
Right. Yeah.
You mean Google?
The most boring job on earth. So basically, yeah, it was rough. I mean, I had about 6 hours of my 8-hour day free, totally free. So basically, being an entrepreneur, you can't really sit there in a cubicle. So I essentially utilized my phone, and I just kind of went crazy and decided I was going to start a recruiting agency. So I had no background in recruiting. My background is completely sales, account management, that kind of stuff. So what I did is essentially just literally start cold messaging Facebook pages, business pages, looking up Craigslist ads, and finding the company, looking up the owner on LinkedIn, reverse engineering, stuff like that. Kind of like just doing these weird back alley methods. And then I started cold emailing people, cold emailing businesses. I got some software, and actually really quick, like within like a week and a half, I had my first deal placed. And it was an HVAC company, and they needed like an admin, and they're like, they're going to pay her $40,000, and I'm like, all right, I'll do a 10% fee, which is $4,000. So I'm like, within like 2 seconds, I had to add up on Craigslist, and I had $4,000 in my pocket like 3 days later. They didn't even ask me for a W-9 on that one. And so that was my first deal ever. My first deal ever. And then from then on, the second deal I ever made was crazy. And I have to mention this because this is just how crazy like the recruiting business is.
Uh,
Um, uh, my girlfriend just hit me up. She's like, "Hey, I saw an ad on Facebook for this company, and they were like local, and they're looking for drivers."
uh-huh.
And I'm like,
Oh.
okay, that's interesting. She's like, "Yeah, call them." And I'm like, "Okay." So I looked up the HR manager, which, by the way, don't ever go through HR. You know,
Nope.
it's not the best route, right?
It's like a college. It's like a college. Don't go through the counselors.
Exactly right. So I hit up the HR manager because I knew nothing. This was like week 3 of my agency. Um, lo and behold, I'm so glad you called. Literally, we need 10 drivers right now.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Whoa.
10 drivers. They're all getting paid 37,000. I was like, I'll do a 10% on every single one of them. I walked away with a $37,000 check after like 3 weeks. Ads on Craigslist, Indeed, whatever.
Bro.
So I was up. Bottom line, I got up 100K in 6 months. So I scaled really quickly, and the business was just so.
Yeah.
That's that. The rest is history. Then I started YouTubing. I had the group started, and then the program that I teach. That's kind of how that got born.
Holy cow. What's up? When? How
Man.
long? And how long have you been? When was that? How long ago was that?
That's like 4.5, 5 years ago. It'll be
Okay.
5 years ago. Here by the end of the year. Yeah.
Okay. He's like, oh, this is month 6.
Yeah.
Yo, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a origin. Yeah, because you didn't even have no experience in recruiting, so that's crazy. But you know what? That's why like I was telling you, that's why we did this show, because even though we are recruiters, the money game's the same. At the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
it's trading of commerce. At the end of the day, whether it be bodies or paperwork.
Right.
Goods and services. And I mean, because like you said you didn't have any experience in sales, I mean in recruiting, but you had experience in sales.
Yeah,
Right. One of the
So-
most transferable skills.
exactly. And those are things that like it's funny, and I think I was telling you too, is like, the show, is like a lot of education towards our recruiters and even other salespeople, because we get a lot of training from our companies, and they tell you about all these things. But in my opinion, I don't feel like a lot of companies actually set you up to go work for yourself. They're always like, oh yeah, you can go be a great recruiter as long as you have these other products from the company.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we could go down that whole rabbit hole of, just grade school and all that. It's like, how do
Yeah.
I do taxes? How do I keep a good, bank
Yeah.
account?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, yeah, no, the corporate world, I mean, the corporate world does what it does, and there's certain people that are for the corporate world.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because those are people that we place there because they want to be there, right?
Yeah.
And it's like there's no disparagement against that. But there's certain people that, at the end of the day, sometimes, it's like you tell, I hear about somebody's base salary or whatever, and I'm just like, man, I made that in X amount of time. Like I don't want to tell you, like that. It's just
Yeah.
like, it's just a different groove. You know what I mean? Entrepreneurs, it's a whole different pathway.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, because like for you, like, because was it just that sitting in that cubicle and like you got to be like what's that movie? The other guys, like you got to be like a peacock. You got to go out and fly. Like like let my wings just flourish, because I know a lot of times it's just like when you feel like you're trapped, it just give you that much energy to just go out and spread your wings. Is that kind of what happened?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Man, the look on people's faces that were all around. I mean, it was literally a cubicle farm. Like, that's the way it was laid out. And I mean, the look on
Can't
people's
do
faces, like, like people that were older than myself and stuff like that. And just walking in, just, and I'm just like, man, like, and there were younger guys than me that I worked with, and they'll probably all see this. Terrell and Tyler, what's up? And like, no, and even my bosses and stuff, like I had my bosses, and they were like, everybody knew like the place was just BS. And at a certain point, yeah, you gotta spread your wings. Like because, you know, you're just going to go crazy. I mean, literally, like, I don't think people address this stuff enough. You know,
Yeah.
we always want to express mental health and talk about that, right?
Yeah.
And when you're not in alignment with what you should be doing,
Mhm.
or what you really, your true, you know, your true energy. I don't really believe in like follow your passion, because I don't think that's like, I don't think that's, you know, you can't fulfill that truly, because it's like,
Mm.
you know, yeah. But if you're not in true alignment with like what you want to be doing or where you should be going,
Mhm.
there's a block, and it doesn't feel right. It feels terrible,
Yeah,
you
because my
know?
passion is to drink beer, but I can't make money off drinking beer.
Precisely. That's precisely
Mm.
You
right.
could. I mean, you
Yeah.
could. Yes,
You
Yeah.
could.
but
I mean,
but
there's
I
shit. Yeah.
but I want to be a recruiter, so I'm in alignment. So we're good.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
You
Roy
find
wants to eat
kind of funny.
Chick-fil-A all day.
I want to eat Chick-fil-A and street tacos
Oh,
and
That's what's up.
yes.
some barbecue. But I mean, because
Tacos.
honestly, what you're saying, because I read something the other day and it said most people are skeptical of what I do because society has taught us to look for jobs, not opportunity. Um,
Mm.
man, like when I say that, like kind of just like that hit home. Like that was like wow. And even now, like having children, like
Mm,
because you hear about like certain people like growing up, like who's that, Michael Jackson. Well, he kind of got forced to be a singer,
right.
and then like being in Serena, like they just had their father nurture something that they were good at, and it
Tiger
just kind of.
Woods.
And Tiger Woods is another one. And I think a lot of times for some of us, like luckily for you, you found out your that alignment in
Yeah.
a time, and I really wish as a society we can push that more. Just finding that alignment of, hey, if you're good at this is what you want to do. Hey, take off the reins and go do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. To piggyback off that, I feel like somebody was saying in something that I was watching. Oh, I think it was one of those crazy videos about Jim Carrey.
Oh,
And it
yo,
was
Jim Carrey drops knowledge though.
no, no, real talk.
Yeah.
And it was the Jim Carrey needed color, the
Yes.
painting one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he basically just said in the middle of something somewhere. He's like, "Your vocation finds you,"
Mm.
and
Mm.
I really believe that. I mean, I really do. Like, I don't. That's why I said you can't like follow your passion. I think
Mm.
like, you
Ah,
know, there's this weird, you
It's like
know,
a star alignment type of thing.
yeah, like I really, you know, I feel like you're, you know, and he, you know, he's got that unique story where, um, you know, you saw him on Oprah or whatever, like 10 years ago or something, or
Yeah.
what? No, it was like 20 years ago. He
Mm.
wrote himself a check for $10 million, put it in his wallet, and basically he said he wrote the check payable by like Thanksgiving of 1998 or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it was for $10 million, and then Thanksgiving 1998, can't even say the 90s anymore. He found out he was going to get paid $10 million for Dumb and Dumber.
Oh,
Like
so it's
it happened.
like a goal thing, like
It
a
was a manifestation. Yeah.
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 And I was like, and then that's what he talks a lot about, manifestation and stuff like
Mm.
that. So, you know, yeah.
I bet shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that because I mean, even like so, like I think I told you, I was an active duty recruiter in our crossover Air National Guard, and it's kind of the same thing. Like I was on, I knew that I wanted to come back to California and like be close to my family, but I knew that I wanted to stay a recruiter. And same
Mm,
thing. I mean, Roy was laughing at me because I was like calling everybody and their mom. I mean, the entire state of California Air National Guard recruiting team was like, "Who the hell is this dude who's like calling everybody and doing all this?" And to the point where me and my boss were laughing about it. She's like, when I hired you, I was so scared because you were just so like you were like almost forceful, and I was like, that's because like it was game time. Like things had
right.
to be made to happen, and
Right.
so but I, like now I'm here, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like you just got to get bully, man, and like do what you got to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, well, this goes back to the whole, you know, I mean, like you have to, you have to make things happen for
Hmm.
yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, like it's you have to do it. Nobody, I always tell people that I consult and people that are in my program, like, I'm like, clients don't fall into your lap. It's never going to happen. It's not how it
Yeah.
works,
Yeah.
right? Nobody's going to
No.
pay you money for anything, and any business is ever just going to fall into your lap.
Hmm.
Like, that's not going to happen. I can't think of one scenario, right? And, you've got to make things happen for you. That's why scared money doesn't make money, right? So, like,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you guys have like
Yeah.
a air horn or something you got to play when somebody says that. You need to, yeah, you need to get that. You need to
Or
get
the-
like
That's
a
on
theme.
that's on the list.
Yeah, you
That's
need
on
to
the
get.
list.
Remember the one you used to blow into? They used to do on Jersey Shore the old soccer ones from
Oh
Brazil.
yeah, the
I'm getting me one of those.
Pavluzela
We
or
had
whatever.
one of those. I was in Korea for 2 years, and we used to blow those into our courtyard, and it would just echo throughout the entire base. They call the cops on us.
Oh my goodness, that's too funny. Yeah, I remember those back in. I was in a fraternity, and everybody
Ah,
had one, and people would go in if 3 a.m. in somebody's
oh
face.
yeah.
Like
I'm ordering one of
ridiculous.
those. I'll be the only person ordering those in 2020.
Yep, yep,
Yeah, that
um.
is a
So as far as so you went from sales, right?
yeah.
What was your degree in college?
Political science.
I was just,
really?
that's why I asked that, because you so many people in sales, their degrees have nothing
Yeah,
to do with sales, which is fine though, because
Yeah,
realistically, you don't really need a degree in sales, even marketing.
right,
you really don't.
right. I considered law school after I got my degree. That was kind of the trajectory. I was like, law
Yeah,
school. I'm really analytical,
Yeah,
type. So I said that'd be cool, but there was a lot of unemployed lawyers, and
yeah,
law schools, quarter million
really.
dollars if you're going to a good
yeah,
one or whatever. So at a certain point, you're just like, you
yeah,
know, just you pivot. And you're just
hmm,
all right. Well, I'm going to do this instead or whatever.
yeah,
And yeah, and so at the end of the day, like, yeah, you could become a successful lawyer. I mean, that's there's nothing wrong with that profession, or a doctor, or any profession. But at the end of the day, I feel like everything. I'm a big believer that not everything happens for a reason, but everything
Mm.
happens for your betterment.
hey, the rock story.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's what I believe. I believe it's happening for your betterment, like whatever it is.
Mhm,
Whatever trajectory you're on, it's always happening for good,
yeah,
not
Yeah.
not for some reason or whatever, but just you're supposed to be on that path, you
mhm,
know. And so, yeah,
for sure.
you know.
So as far as your experience, going from sales to recruiting, as far as the behavior thing, did you see a difference in as far as how you had to analyze people's behaviors more so in sales or recruiting, and vice versa? Like, what were the differences?
Oh man, it was just like almost like it was just almost like a mirror. It's so
Mm,
identical. Like, I mean,
Mm.
because being in sales for like a good 5+ years, I mean, phone sales, when
hmm,
you're just sitting there talking to people. Inside sales, you're working people over on deals that, whether the sales cycle is 15 minutes or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 3 months. You
Mm.
just so much interaction with people. I mean, equates so directly in recruiting, and you end up just being able to read people so
yeah.
quickly. Like, I mean, like, you just I just you just naturally, as a human, you just get to know
Hmm,
the tells,
yeah,
who they are, how they talk,
yeah,
what they ask you. And I mean, especially in interviewing, right? If you get somebody on a phone screen, etc., and you're asking them questions, I mean, like the way they ask a certain question. Like, if I'm working on a warehouse client or something, and they're like, man, so do we get paid every week? And like, that's the first question about the
yeah,
job.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's probably not a fit, bro.
yeah.
Like,
You know what? Based
like,
off that answer, probably not gonna happen.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this isn't
yeah,
gonna work for you. I mean, because
right.
like I'm a big person on like experiences, like you said, like for your betterment. Do you think is there anything from being in the cubicle farm that you learned or
Mm,
experienced that you were able to take to your business, to your platform that you're on now? Because I mean, I know it's different being in a cubicle and everybody just walking through. Uh, Hey, Bob.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
John.
Right. What's
I
up?
did.
You want to get coffee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, so, like, did
Right.
you like? Was there anything that you were able to extract from that experience and that time that you spent there, and make it fruitful in your business?
That's a great question. And I think that, because you have to take something from everything you do, right? I feel like
Yeah.
you've got to. So, being where I am now, I'm a lone wolf, so I'm completely solo, right? And that's how I've been ever since I left. And with that being said, there's nobody over your shoulder telling you what to do. There's no rubric for the day. There's no regiment, right? You guys are super familiar,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But like, on that note, what I took from it is making my own regimen
Mm.
and saying to myself, listen, I've got to be my own boss, because if I'm not, I'm just going to sit around and do nothing, or, just browse Facebook or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, at work, it's okay to browse Facebook, but when you're an entrepreneur at home
You're gonna
and
get
you're
time for
trying to
that.
make money, the time is real money. I mean, you're really, really, really like stacking up your own gold bricks. And so I think that being your own boss aspect, and almost kind of like taking that environment, twisting it a little bit, making it your own,
Mhm.
bringing it home with you, and turning that into your own vibe, and being like, all right, got to keep myself accountable,
Yep.
Hmm.
metric wise, KPI, whatever I'm doing, right? Am I sending out my emails enough? Am I taking enough calls? Am I, sourcing enough? Am I doing whatever, business development,
Mhm.
all of it? Got to pay attention to those metrics. Otherwise, who's going to? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. That.
That's definitely got to be a shift.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's one of the biggest things for like I know like a lot of new recruiters who get into it because I'm pretty sure they hear like, oh, 6 figures, or I get to, oh, $250,000 and I get to do this and I get to do that. But I think it's kind of like bodybuilder. They forget the discipline aspect of it as well. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of like I want to be a bodybuilder all day, but the discipline of putting down the biscuits and gravy, whew, or the discipline to put down that Krispy Kreme donut that's and they're about to have the lemon glaze come on, like it's
Come on now.
man.
Yeah.
That's why
If
I'm
you
not a
haven't,
bodybuilder.
hey, and if you haven't tried the lemon glazed donut from Krispy
I've
Kreme,
heard. I've heard it's fire.
zero discipline for your boy.
Discipline's out the window, bro. It's gone.
It is. It is. So I think that's really cool that you were able to extract that and understand that you have to enforce your own discipline in order to thrive and be successful into your journey. So
Total.
especially
Yeah.
especially with like I think with our military recruiters, like I know, because we have a product that's been here for 60, 70 years, like
Yeah.
so it's easy for us as recruiters, people are looking us up no matter what just because they know the product. But like you said, like you're the product and nobody knew who you were when you started out. So now now it's a whole different piece of when you're trying to push yourself or push a product that's not already established. So no, yeah, I definitely, that's crazy.
Right. I think also to what you mentioned, a lot of young recruiters, not necessarily meaning even in age, but just young into
Oh
the
yeah,
trade
in the
for the
game.
business, right? Yeah, to the game.
To
I
the
mean, to the
game.
yep,
game.
to
What
the game.
let's call it what it is. It's
Yep.
a game, a hustle, a game, whatever, all of it. But to the craft, to some people, right?
Yeah.
Um, uh, you know, it's not get rich quick. It's not get rich overnight. It's
Yep.
not get rich in a couple months. It's a process that can make you money over time as you learn and as you progress.
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's got to be made clear on pretty much any aspect of anything, but definitely recruiting for sure. I mean, you have to build up, a book of business. You got to get clients. You have to do it right. You've got to learn the proper skills, lay the groundwork. I mean, there's no get rich quick,
Yeah.
in anything, but definitely not recruiting for sure.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of money to be made. Let's not lie. I mean, there's a lot of money you can
He
make.
pulls a string, just money.
Right.
falls-
I didn't have it ready, but yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, because man, I promise you, like, some people are so, I always like to say, like, conditioned. So depending on what you came from and depending on how you were developed and brought up, so whether you're in the military or you just worked at Bing or whatever, and like you just got conditioned to a certain way, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna come in. You can put in a little bit of effort and still be somewhat successful, but when you like when you're out on your own, I was just talking to a couple of young people the other day. Like, look, when you're out on your own, nobody's gonna hold your hand.
Mhm.
There is nobody there to hold your hand. There's nobody that's there. Oh my God, you fell and you hurt your you hurt your little pinky toe. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, you gotta like put a band-aid on yourself, put some peroxide on it yourself, unless you want it to get infected, and then you just gotta keep on doing your own thing. So,
Right.
what I always like to say, like, when you took the L's, what are some of the biggest L's? And I like to say lessons learned. What are some of the lessons learned that helped you overcome and progress and be better?
Mm. I would say that persistence is key.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Persistence is like your number one, I mean, attribute. If you don't have it, if you don't have persistence, if you don't have grit, grind, I mean, we could use 100 words.
Yeah.
If you can't eat rejection for breakfast, you know, I came from a sales background, so it's like that wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, talking to 80 people a day, it's like, come on. But
Yeah.
you know, uh, a big lesson learned is definitely like, you know, like I was saying, it won't come overnight. So it's like, you know, just get ready for the ride. Get ready
Yeah.
to reach out to a lot of folks. Get ready to um, get ready to definitely. Well, I mean, if you're doing something alone, get ready to learn. I mean, you know, when I was doing things, learn on your own. I
Yeah.
mean, literally pull those bootstraps up, man, because you got to figure it out. You know, at the end of the day, you know, like, you know, don't pay $1,000 for 10 background checks for, you know, some client when it's a contingency agreement and they hired somebody already and you're out
Mm.
$1,000. You know what I
Ooh.
mean?
Those are things
You
though
know,
people like you don't think of. You're like, oh, it's money in the bank.
right, exactly. Right, like don't work with a company before you don't check out that whoops, they're going bankrupt and they can't pay you 20,000 they owe you. You know, whoops.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? Like stuff like, you know, different I mean, really just, you know, having really good discernment,
Mm.
learning that discernment, um, which could be applied to discipline, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Not just running after a deal or something, and you know, really being mindful of what you're doing, not blowing your money.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sure
I
that's
mean,
not.
Mm.
you know, because
Yeah.
I mean, in recruiting, like you know, like I said, my second deal was 37,000. It was a check for $37,000. With that said, the check just went straight in the bank.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just like that's in the bank, but because that's not a lot of money. Like you
Yeah.
know, I
Thank
mean,
you. Yeah.
you know, I understand people might perceive like things to be $100,000 to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's a chunk of change, but it's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like
Once you divvy it out to everything that you actually have to pay for throughout an entire year.
Mhm.
exactly right. So that's like that's baseline. You know,
Hmm.
like at least from an entrepreneur standpoint, you know, from where you really want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, you know, might be just happy with that 55K base, and
Hmm.
they're like, you know, I hit that 3,000 bonus, whatever, you know. I don't know, but you
Yeah.
know, I think some just mainly lessons learned are just to, you know, get to know yourself a little bit better.
Mhm.
You know, I think that's a big one. Learn a little bit more about yourself and your work ethic. And when you kind of face your own work ethic and you're just really like, you know, this is who I am, this is what I do, you get to change that kind of,
Mhm.
and get better. You get a chance to get better, which is really cool.
I know me and Roy have had that conversation before about the whole, if you were to look at yourself from the outside, can you be honest with yourself?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a deep conversation.
I hate
Yeah.
those conversations.
They suck every time.
I really think like that conversation, and like I was just talking to my wife the other day, and she was like, "Man, that should probably be like an episode on the podcast." And I was going to talk to you about it, like discernment.
Mm.
I think that's a big one. Like we could probably do an episode on discernment
Mhm.
all by itself, because that is a skill that you have to one, practice and develop over time. So
Oh
I
yeah.
know for you, like you've had to practice and develop your art of discernment time and time and time again, so you don't end up with the bankruptcy deals with certain companies and
Mm.
somebody who's shaking your hand but they got their fingers crossed behind their back.
Yeah.
So I know, um, I really think discernment, and that could be applied across the board no matter what you do. So
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, like you said, across the board, we're doing a show right now. Like, you guys are putting out content. This is free content. People are going to digest this information. Um, they're going to learn from it. I mean, there's some invaluable things we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And like when I set up YouTube,
Mm.
like I'm not monetized on YouTube. I don't make a dime on YouTube.
Mhm.
And even if I did, it would be like $5 a month. But that's neither here nor there. But like the YouTube, right? Like, I do it because I like to. I'm true to it, and I really like to just put out the information, put out tutorials. I'm passionate about that stuff, so I put that out. And then the group I created,
Yeah.
like, I created the group because I really wanted a space for people to just be. You guys probably seen the posts and stuff in there that are everyone sharing, caring,
Yeah. Yeah.
giving, right? Like, anybody got a form for this? Has anyone
Mhm.
been through this experience? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think, like, when you come from that place, good things will always happen to you. I think when you
Oh,
yes.
for
come from
sure.
those places, right? And
Mhm.
I, yeah, I think that's always where you should come from, no matter what you're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like when you were talking about consistency, so I think one of the things I saw on your page that was interesting to me, because like as recruiters we've been kind of taught it, but I feel like when I actually read the what was said in your page, it really made it make more sense, and I actually ended up sending it out to people. But like a drip email campaign, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Like, do you use that? I mean, or if you don't, like, what are your thoughts on it? Like,
I use them from time to time,
mhm,
with a list.
yeah,
So let's say there's a list, right?
yeah,
Like a list that maybe I developed, an email list 2 years ago or a year ago, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
And it's a list of decision makers, from various companies that I got from a database or whatever. And maybe I emailed them 2 years ago or something, but putting them on a drip campaign, right, would be like, basically sending them email one saying, basically just trying to engage with them,
yeah,
right? And, get some reaction, get some traction going, like, something along the lines of like, hey, it's Ben, I'm hitting you up from Seattle Search Solutions, and
yeah,
wanted to talk with you because, we see that you're hiring for XYZ roles, and we have some candidates for those, and I'd love to chat. Do you have 10 minutes this week?
hmm,
Whatever. And then, a drip would be setting it up so it's automated through
yeah,
whatever system you choose, software, where it's like the second email comes out if they don't respond.
right,
If nobody responds on that list, they
hmm,
get a second drip. It's like an IV drip,
yeah, yeah,
right?
okay,
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
Comes out, the second drip is like 7 days later. And
hmm.
it's like, hey, not sure if you got my last email, right? And then,
Read my shit, man.
exactly, right? And then the bottom is pretty much the same. Just still wanted to connect with you about, the roles that you have open and
Mm.
helping you out. And we're
Yeah.
doing this currently, blah blah blah, whatever. And then you do your third email, fourth. You could do these up to 5 emails. I mean, some people get 6 emails on a drip campaign,
Oh
and they'll
wow.
set it for 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, whatever, and stuff like that. And they'll just continue those. And actually, sometimes, I don't want to say a lot of the time, but they can be really successful.
I've heard.
Because,
Yeah.
right, we all know it takes 6, 7, 8 touches sometimes to
Mm-hmm.
get somebody
Yeah.
to get back to you,
Yeah.
right? I mean, not if you're trying to like get a girl to go out with you, but like, but
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're trying to
Yeah.
get a client, that's kind of what it takes sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting so before I came here to California, I was a health professions recruiter. So I was like doctors, nurses, dentists, and I remember like it was in essence a drip campaign. They're like, yo, email them, and then like if you don't hear back, and we had lists, from colleges and like the medical association boards and all that type of
Mm.
stuff. But I just liked the whole drip campaign because I feel like even just kind of attaching a name to it gives it more merit as far as because it's a campaign rather. Hey man, do a follow up in a week. Hey man, do a follow up. Da, da, da. But if you're like, hey, we're gonna do a drip campaign on the medical association list from 2017, it creates more merit to like the process of what you're doing.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Like
Definitely.
that.
Yeah. Rather than just a simple like follow up with these people or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
Because as recruiters, we have to follow. I gotta follow my people.
Right.
I gotta follow up with like, did you call them? Like, yes, no, I really didn't
I
call them.
didn't.
Like, did you
I didn't.
did you
It's
eat? Like, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's endless follow up, man. The fortune is in the follow up. I mean,
Yeah.
Ah,
it's truly like I mean, I did a YouTube video where I literally calculated, like I literally sat down and I looked at certain people that I placed,
mhm.
and at the clients that I placed them at,
Uh-huh.
and like what it took me to get that client signed as an actual client,
Uh-huh.
and how much follow up or whatever, and it was for like it was in 29 or 2018 basically something like that, and it was at least around $100,000 in revenue on follow up. So it's like basically
Oh wow.
bottom line is like if I had not followed up.
Yeah, you'd be 100 grand
Mhm.
short.
Exactly.
That
So,
happened today actually. I had a girl. Sorry, I had a girl that I talked to her a couple weeks ago, and then it went ghost. She was working with another branch trying to figure some stuff out. Same thing. I followed up with her this yesterday, and she messaged me back this morning and was like, "Hey, um, they got back to me, so I'm trying to see if the process will at least get finished with them." And I was like, "Oh, well, I can still start your process, and then that way, if they can't finish it, at least you didn't waste all this time." And she's like, "Oh, in that case, I'll send you the papers tomorrow." Okay.
Boom. Awesome. There you go. Yeah.
mhm.
It's amazing what can happen. Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it's crazy when you just kind of just go for it,
So, I mean, with the follow up, like, because that's a process. You really have to develop a process. So, with that process, did you learn it and you just like facilitated it, like once you started doing it, or was it something that you just put trust in because that's what you heard? Because I know I'm not gonna lie, when I first started off in recruiting, and like my boss was telling me, like, "Hey, call these people." I'm like, "Huh, you just want me to randomly call some people?" And like try to like talk to him about joining. He's like, yeah, like I want you to call him. Like, that's not gonna happen. So of course I started calling,
Yeah.
and then I'm calling like, no, no, no. And then I'm like, hey, you ever thought about it? They were like, yeah. Like, really? Like,
Yeah.
would you like to
Wait,
come in
wait.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Like I'll be there after practice. Like, really? Like I'm
Huh?
looking at like so for me, it was a process that I had to actually do and finally saw the reward in it. Um, so I didn't trust it in the beginning. So did you trust it in the beginning, or did it finally hit you after you were successful in it?
No, it was the same thing. Yeah, it was the
Okay.
same exact thing. No, so it's kind of like what I had just heard
Mm.
and what I kind of figured out, and and then sometimes I would get at least like when I first started, like really fresh green, like probably like 8 months, whatever, so around 6 to 8 months, whatever. I got a gut feeling where it was like, if I just email this dude one more time, you
Mm,
know, like
yeah,
right, or if I just, you
the
know what,
Spidey sense.
right, right, seriously, I mean, because
Discernment.
exactly, you're right, right. We come full circle. So, like, legitimately, like, what if I just, what if I just called him right now, you know? And then all of a sudden, you're on the phone. It's like, yeah, 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 yeah. We still did need those two guys. Okay, so yeah, did you send over the contract? And I'm like, yeah, like let me hit remind on DocuSign, but yeah, of course, like, you know. And then, yeah, no, and then follow up. You see the merits in it, and then you just, r- reproduce that process over and over and and I mean the thing is that's crazy about recruitment is that like you could you could make an argument that it's not rocket science, right?
Mm,
That it's like not
Ha!
even close, right?
he
You
likes
Not
could
even
saying
close.
he likes
yeah
saying that.
I love saying that. I love
yeah
saying. I
right
love saying it.
you
That's
could
just.
you could make an argument that it's literally like, hey you, cool, hey you want to work for him, cool, all right, thank you. Like you can make an argument that it's that, right?
Yeah.
But we all know it's so much more than that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Like when we dive in, and all that.
I think
I,
that. Oh, yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I mean, cause like I always go back to it. It's a art and a science, and it's like that sweet. I mean, sometimes it's 90% art and 10% science.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's 60-40. But I really believe like you got to have that artistic outlook and that optimistic outlook, and just that discernment again, and just because the science, honestly, when it comes down to it for recruiting, the science is sign here, sign here, sign here. You sign over here, sign over here, and then I'll, like you said, I'll take the check. So
Right.
that's the science. Like
Yeah.
everything else is just an artistic process.
Right.
This happened yesterday. I was on the phone. And Adrian was sitting next to me, and I was talking to this dude. And same thing. Like, talk to dude. He's like, "Oh, I want to do medical jobs at this wing or whatever." And I was like, "Oh," started talking to him, and I was like, "Look, man, like, you got to be cool with the product, dog. Because like, I can't guarantee you're gonna pass school. I can't guarantee that you're even gonna qualify for this job. But if you're gonna be straight with being in the, about whatever, went through my whole like you said, like my whole little art thing of it. You hung up the phone, and I remember Adrian is like, "You so full of bullshit." I was like, "It's not though." I was like, "You're looking at it from a different perspective than he is. Like, you're married to a recruiter, so like the art of how the recruiting game works. Not to mention, I have nothing to offer you, but I have everything to offer him. It's just I have to word it to the point where both parties are winners in the situation. And she's just like, don't ever try that shit on me."
So so for you being like, have you ever had to like go into like that arena where you're trying to satisfy both parties? Because like the recruit might say like, well, I know they're offering 50, but I want 55, and
Mm.
then like the employer is like, I can go as high as 53. Like, have you ever had to try to sweeten the deal or
Yeah.
make everybody happy?
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Where I mean, sometimes you'll get that range, right? From the employer, and if it's a low tier job or something, let's say it's like 20 to 25 or something or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that your candidate's a $25 candidate. Like I mean, you talk to them, you checked out the resume or whatever, and they're trying to give them like 21 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's opportunities like let's call this 2019, and there's opportunities like all over the place.
Yeah.
And and he could just walk, but at, that's where we shine, right? You come in, and yeah, I've had to walk through the fire, yeah, I'll massage it, right, exactly, and literally just but do it with really good elegance, right? You know what I mean? Because that's another part and piece of this whole pie where you really have to be a pretty intelligent person to know how to approach all these scenarios. You
Yes.
can't just come in there with a sledgehammer, bro. Like it's not going to
Yep.
work. Like
Yeah.
you got to go in there with like what is it? What do they do in surgery?
A scalpel.
Scalpel, right?
Scalpel.
Scalpel, and shave this thing down and be like, all right, so
Yeah.
listen, this dude's got XYZ skills, bro. All right. He's been here. He used to work here. All right. And I'm going to tell you what, like at this point, I'm just going to cut you if you don't hire him. But really, just like he's the best we found. This and this and this, and and at the end too, you got to push their pain points. And I always talk about how like another gruesome analogy is where you shove the knife in, and then if it's not working, you twist that knife,
Twist it.
right? And push the pain points because exactly what they're going to move on, what they're not going to move on, and all that kind of stuff. And like if it doesn't work out, hey, it doesn't work out. If it works out, you did your job right, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, at least you tried no matter what, And that's where I think coming back to something you said, Roy, the eternal optimist is what you have to be. Like if you don't have that quality, if you're not optimistic about what you're doing all the time, I mean, the recruiting is not for you.
Yeah. And I like what you said as well with the being an intelligent person. Like I remember, like when I came in recruiting, like they tell you all the time, I always like, man, I'm crazy. I don't know nothing. Yada 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 yada. But all the time they be like, yo, you know a lot more than you let on. And I really think that is very important because you have to be knowledgeable. It's kind of like being a jack of all trades. Like you just have to know a little bit about a lot of shit. Like for no reason. Like you you just know random things. And I say it all, they're like, why do you know that? And I just be like, I don't know. But at some point in time, I probably had to use that information to get to where I needed to be.
Absolutely.
The job again, let me clarify, it's not rocket science, but you have to operate in your mind strategically like you're trying to build a rocket that's going to damn outer space.
Yes. Right. Absolutely. 100%. And I think too, to clarify what I was saying too, like what you just mentioned, like being an intelligent person, what you just said, I think was spot on. Like people, anybody, like whoever's watching this, so much more than you think you do. Sometimes it just takes somebody or something or whatever to pull it out of you and just say, hey, this, you can get this, And I think a lot of people need to get that. Like, we talked earlier about the 9 to 5, robotics, right? And some people don't realize they know so much more than they utilize. They're just not using it,
Or they're scared to use it.
Exactly, right. So, scared money don't make money.
Yeah, scared money.
So I gotta get one of those things now.
You have to. Must.
That's
it's
happening. And I'll write 6-figure recruit on the side of it since you brought it.
Yep, man. Or at least get the sound so like when people say it, you just push a button and just
you just go
boom. Where is that coming from?
Exactly, right.
No, and I think that's one thing I think like Roy and so like for you, development. So I'm big on developing your craft, like you said. So like I read, or when I say read, I listen. I listen to books about like interrogation techniques or body language or voice patterns, stuff like that. Like, have you done any type of that type of development? And like, what do you use?
Oh man, YouTube videos nonstop.
Yes.
Oh man, so it's like it won't even be like your typical Gary V and this and that. It'll just be just like you said, random. Like, maybe it's the same guy, the FBI
Yep. Yeah, Chris
hostage.
Voss.
The one dude. Yeah, he's
Chris,
got the whole
the man.
right. So check it out. That stuff, like, and just other random stuff, like what's his name? Tom Bilyeu. Tom Bilyeu. Okay. So he, you know him? Yeah, he's got like the supplement business or whatever.
Yep.
Anyways, but he does these interviews with these crazy people that are into brain science, and like, they talk about, like, your thoughts, and like, how your brain works, and like the real stuff. Like, we're not talking about, like, magic, like woohoo, whatever. Like, like real stuff, like where they're like, listen, like, if you do this, like every day, or this is how you act or interact, etc. Like, this is how you're going to come across, or if this is how you are internally, this is how you'll be externally. So huge on development as well, and like, development on your craft, like you said.
Yeah.
But also, I think it just comes in tandem with personal development.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other, I don't think.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, because I know a lot of the stuff I've done in the last few years, especially like me and Roy. I feel like Roy develops me probably the most out of anything. I always tell people that, because like
awesome.
he makes well, it's not awesome because he pisses me off. I'll be mad as hell about something. He's like, well, you should be mad at yourself. I'm like, why? And then he tells me why, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to you no more. Get off my goddamn phone. You don't pay my bills.
That's what he do. He be like, okay, like, I'll talk to you later.
Okay, man. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you in 2 months, yo mother. but I mean, that's how it is, though.
That's some real.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I know for like, especially with development, I think that's kind of cool. Like when you talk about like the YouTube, especially in today's world, like, and everybody is shaped and molded by so many different things. I mean, I remember growing up, you either got shaped by the Cosby Show, A Different World, what's going on at home, what's going on at church, and what's going on in your neighborhood. Now the exposure to the world is so vast. So how you communicate and articulate and converse with people, you have to have a dialogue that is so vast. And I think like watching, like you said, random YouTube clips. I like TED Talks. So I'll go between TED Talks and YouTube just to hear, like, even like just watching the interactions on Instagram and different things like that, because I think it really does help shape and form the knowledge base that you need to converse with certain people. Because I always say, to be a recruiter, be in sales, you have to be a chameleon to survive. You just got to. If you don't have the ability to adapt, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think people undervalue themselves. One of my biggest things is, like, what we're talking about. I'm always trying to develop and level up myself. I'm not perfection whatsoever. There's no such thing. I don't believe. I think we can come close, but I'm always trying to develop, level up, create a better version of myself, and just increase my, increase everything that I got going on, and at the end of the day, bottom line, like, that's what we all have to be doing, I think, because, as a society, I personally, like, for instance, I don't watch any mainstream media anymore. I haven't for like 4 months, 5 months straight.
I agree with that.
Like none, none at all. Yeah, I can't. I mean, legit, like none at all. Like, not even when I see some stuff on YouTube, just scroll past it. Like, I don't even need to know the numbers of the cases and what state or this or that. Because I mean, I'm just on my grind. Like, and I mean, it's nothing but a bunch of garbage. So
it's like an energy. It's like an energy thing. It's like, where do I want to expel my energy to? Is it something I can't really even change, or would I rather focus on something I actually have control over?
Exactly.
And it's so funny. Like, you'll be surprised how many people I'll say like waste so much energy on things like they can't even like in recruiting. Like I tell guys all the time, like bro, like you are tripping off of something that you really don't have no control over. Like you
Right.
know how much energy you're expelling over something that
Yep.
you can't even do nothing about. Like
Right.
bro, you could have went. Shoot, you could have went to the movies or something. Like
Yeah.
This is like the other day when you called me about the thing on the NCO page. I was like, oh nope, I'm not even getting into this. Because we started going in on something, and I was like, nope, you're not wasting my Saturday on this conversation.
Right.
Yep. Oh yeah, you're right. I did do
Dude,
that.
this
I
shit.
did that. I did do that.
We both had a moment of clarity. We're like, all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
But yeah, like I mean, and you gotta have those people in your corner that kind of reel you back in. So I know you're a lone wolf out there doing your grind and your hustle. But is there like anybody that's like in your corner, like even though you're one man wolf pack, and then you found another three buddies.
It's a hard question. If he don't say Jimmy, but he say John, someone's getting.
I mean, but like, I mean, you don't even have to like give names, but like, do you still have like a tribe, if you will, that kind of helps bring you back in?
No.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so number one, family, of course.
Yeah.
100%. You know what I mean? That's like number one. So my mom, my dad, my sister, and that's like, ride or die, right? And then, I definitely have several mentors in my life. And these are, rock solid mentors, that, I've known for years at this point. And they've kind of like come along the journey, as I've, scaled my stuff. And, I have like, a coach that I work with because, like I do a couple different things, you know what I mean? And so I myself am not above needing guidance and help and trajectory, right? Because I help a lot of people or try to help them out as best as possible and do all that. And, I always think to myself, I'm like, well, I can't help a lot of other people if my cup isn't filled.
Yeah.
So right. So who's filling my cup? So I got a coach, a couple mentors, and then of course my family, and then a couple buddies, that are like rock solid and stuff like that. But again, that circle of exterior, just like friends, socialized, whatever, that's a small circle. And I think people get this wrong so much because they spread that circle to whomever, and they let whatever energy in, and not so good outcomes happen when that happens because you end up kind of like getting wrapped up in somebody else's energy and getting wrapped up in let's go out, let's do this, let's do whatever, or I mean, if you can't really go out anywhere now, but like you know what I mean. But at the end of the day, no, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, the 4 people or 3 people or whatever it is. And so with that being said, you got to remember that, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, I was bad about that. Like, cause when I grew up, I went to 13 different schools growing up. And so everything, for me, like people, like people. And I remember, and so as I've gotten older, like obviously I'm with Adrian, and she, I don't want to say values friendships more than I do, but she grew up with a smaller circle than I did. Cause obviously jumping from school to school. And so, she definitely, she helped me with that. Like I'd say, like you just said, like, you just want to go out with these people just because they're going out, when in reality, she's like, do you really want to go out with those people, or would you rather go out with these people who actually like mess with you,
Right. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people don't have any, all their intentions are is just misery loves company,
exactly.
Time, right? And all that kind of stuff. And man, 13 schools, you were born to be a recruiter, bro. I mean,
I know my mom,
how much social interaction, like, wow.
My mom, she apologizes to me. Like, I had a single mom growing up, and it's just job here, move here, stuff like that. And then No, I always tell her though. She's like, "I'm so sorry I did that." And I'm like, "But it made me who I was. You can drop me in the middle of a room, and I have zero problem becoming the life of the party."
100%.
My wife hates
Oh,
it. It is funny because I married somebody who's totally antisocial, but it works because we like we
yeah,
equal each other out. He knows.
yeah,
And so,
yeah.
Man, yo,
um,
it's
I
yeah.
could see that from Seattle to California, man.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, no, same thing, man. Yeah, I mean, it's talking something. But I will say that it's like you said, the development pieces. I can talk to a lot of people, but I'm bad, or I'm a lot better at it now. But empathy when I'm talking to somebody, because I'll say something. Me and Roy talk about this, not realizing what I said could be hurtful to that other person. Not horribly hurtful, like they're crying or anything, but
Right.
I'll be like, "Oh, like you didn't do that," and then she's like, "Man, like what? You didn't have to say that. You just be like, oh man, that sucks," and
Oh,
I'm like, "Oh, well, my bad." Like
yeah.
she's like, I know you didn't mean anything bad about it, but like you have to try and think about that. Like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So I've gotten a lot better at that. Is
Right.
trying to understand the intake of my outtake.
Right. That discernment.
The
Just
discernment.
man, y'all
Yeah.
motherfuckers
Yo, I'm telling you, yo, man, we gotta do an episode on discernment
It's
because
got to be a whole
we
episode,
can do
bro.
it.
I mean,
We can
that
do
is a
it.
whole
We'll
episode.
get like we'll do a whole panel.
yep.
I like it.
You got to get a pastor on that panel.
Oh god.
Mm.
Gotta bless it on the front and the back.
Exactly.
No,
Right.
that's actually a good idea. I mean,
He'll talk a
because
lot. Yeah.
that's a good idea. I mean, because the similarities on like that discern like that energy, like
Mhm.
you gotta feel that energy. I mean, so yeah,
Mhm.
we should do that. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
There you go.
So we try kind of towards the end of our time, but I wanted to give you an opportunity, Ben, to just kind of lay out anything you want to say about your mentorship program, maybe to motivate any of the viewers. And yeah, man, I mean, this is your time. We appreciate you, of course. So by all means, let the viewers know what they need to know about you.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I appreciate you guys for having me on for sure. This was like value add to the max. So I think whoever's checking this out, it's definitely value add. So I mean, yeah, if anybody wants to check out my YouTube,
Mm.
I just try to drop bombs on there. So it's just Ben Nader. You just search me. It's Nader, like
Yep.
Ralph. Um, so Ben Nader. If you just hit me up on YouTube, that's you'll just get some knowledge bombs, hopefully, and that's about it. I mean, that'd be cool. But yeah,
Boom. Drop
yeah,
knowledge
like
bombs
it.
in your brain trenches.
That's
yeah,
it.
All
yeah.
right. Well, it's been a dope episode, man. We appreciate you.
I appreciate both of you guys.
Oh
Freaking,
For sure.
yeah.
Thank you so
as
much.
as always, if any of y'all have questions about anything, like you heard, you can hit him up on his YouTube. You guys can also contact us. We'll put links to his social media, Facebook pages as well in the episode. Otherwise, that's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
All right.
Guys.
That's it.
Those